Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options in Play video update. I'd like to start out just thanking those of you that stuck around for our option session last night. As always, really enjoy the time we get to spend together, just talking options, talking trading, went into a little bit of earnings, all sorts of different things. Appreciate you guys sticking around, all the participation. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Um, One of the things I kind of like loosely talked about, I mean, just kind of almost in passing, was the fact that the next, this week and next are still. This week specifically is very light from the scheduled news. Next week it'll start to pick up, but it's actually like 2 weeks from today or 2 weeks from this week is really when things like kick into high gear. And again, like this week specifically, next week you'll have some big names like Netflix. You'll have basically all the banks. You'll have J&J, UNH. Um, but this week, there's really only maybe like 6, 7, 8 names even scheduled, and of those, maybe only like 2 to 3 names that I'd even like look at honestly. And when I say look at, I mean like that's like just actually pull up the chart. That's not necessarily entertaining the trade idea, right? And what I find is people ask me, am I going to play? I mean, Paychecks I have up here that they were scheduled to report this morning. Actually the only scheduled name on the calendar, right? And people are saying, oh, are you going to play Paychecks? It's reporting in the morning. And I feel like people kind of get sucked into just trading these earnings like at the beginning of the quarter, just because everybody's antsy for earnings season to start, and they really want to get involved with some earnings trades. But to be honest, like sometimes the best thing to do is just avoid it, because just because it's the only earnings on the calendar doesn't mean it's necessarily a good trade candidate, right? And that's really a point I want to drive home. It's like, yes, we all want earnings to get going. We all want the action to start to pick up for these reports. But just because you want to do that and you want to trade earnings doesn't mean you should necessarily just trade for the sake of trading, right? So just because Paychecks is on the calendar and it's the only company scheduled doesn't mean you have to trade it, right? And what, just again, just driving the point home, like these stocks, right? You really got to evaluate them from like the perspective of is the risk reward worth it? Do they typically move, right? So we talked about it last night. It's like what makes like a good earnings candidate? It's consistency of moving, consistently large moves, right? Technical patterns, option pricing. So you got to weigh all these things, and it's not necessarily just a trade just because it's on the calendar. All right. Sometimes what I feel like I do when I am kind of getting antsy and I'm getting, I want to do something. I want to start positioning for earnings. I want the news to start picking up. What I do sometimes is kind of look out, like maybe like 5 to 10 days in advance, and if I see something on the calendar, I see like a bullish setup, right? So I see a stock reporting maybe like next week. There's a bullish setup. I think there's a possibility it could run. Then what I could do is start to like screen for like a ramp into the report, right? So like a stock that could theoretically make a move ahead of earnings, right? So that's what I've been doing like the last couple of weeks is really kind of screening for like those ramp into the report candidates. And for next week, you could look at the banks, you could look at Netflix, which is actually already starting to go, right? Netflix has moved higher. UNH will be a big one next week. Like that could be something you take a look at, right? So if you are feeling antsy and feeling like you want to really do something, don't just trade for the sake of trading. Maybe start to game plan for the following week. Maybe look at some of these ramp into the report style trades. But again, just to really drive it home, just don't just pull up the calendar, see that Paychecks, for instance, is the only name reporting, so I'm going to play it because it's the only name reporting. You really got to evaluate the setup on its own right, and if it not a consistent mover, if the options are expensive, maybe the options are illiquid, it's just better to avoid it and just wait, right? Because we're going to have plenty of action coming up in the very near future, and there's no point just throwing your money away, chasing bad setups just because you want to do something. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more earnings trade ideas, which again are coming up soon, or more option swing trade ideas, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Hope you guys have a great night, stay well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.